The Socceroos are back in action next month as we continue on the road to the 2026 World Cup. So in today's video, I'm going to go through my squad prediction for the September World Cup qualifiers. Now, this is going to be an interesting Socceroos squad because we've got a lot of competitions that have only just recently started up or are soon starting up in the coming weeks and months. Some competitions around the world have already been going for a few months in 2024. So I've included some interesting names in my Socceroos list and would love to get your thoughts in the comments section. Who do you want to see included in this upcoming Socceroos squad? Let's get into it. First of all, goalkeepers for me. There's three obvious choices. First of all, you got someone like Matt Ryan, who has recently joined AS Roma. He was on the bench for their first Serie A game, of course, made 4 appearances in the last round of World Cup qualifiers. And then you got Joe Gauci, who feels like he's sort of the next replacement, the long-term replacement, if you like, for Matt Ryan, obviously much younger at 24 years of age. He was on the bench for Aston Villa's first Premier League game in that away win to West Ham. He did come off the bench in a recent friendly against Borussia Dortmund as well, and of course made those 2 appearances in the World Cup qualifiers for Australia back in May. And that'll be an interesting conversation in terms of who starts between those two. It feels like that a lot of people are almost preferring Joe Gauci ahead of Ryan. For me, I think we still should start Ryan. He has been the captain of the side for a number of years now. And Paul Izzo being that final goalkeeper for me, I don't think he'll get any game time, but already 5 games started for Randers over there in Denmark. It's a positive start to life in Denmark for Paul Izzo, and we wish him all the best over there. And I think he should get called up to this Socceroos squad as well. Next up, let's jump into centre backs, and there's some hot competition in this area of the pitch for me. First of all, I think Harry Souttar has to be included. He's one of Australia's best players. He captained his new side Sheffield United in the recent win in the EFL Cup. He was on the bench for both their league games so far, did come off the bench late in the most recent league game. Of course, he was heavily involved in the most recent qualifying campaign for Australia in the previous round, making 5 appearances and scoring 2 goals, the big centre back. For me, Thomas Deng, I think, is someone that Graham Arnold has to look at really integrating into the squad this time around. Obviously, in Japan, the J1 League, it's been going for the last few months now, and so far, Deng has played 21 games in the J1 League this year. He made only 1 appearance for the Socceroos in the most recent phase of World Cup qualifying. I think this is the time where Thomas Deng gets a call up. He's been, in squads here and there over the last few years, hasn't really properly been able to integrate himself as a starter. I think there's a chance here for Thomas Deng, a versatile player as well. We can play him out in the right back position as well. Alessandro Ciccati, a fan favourite, I think he's becoming for the Socceroos. Obviously still just 20 years of age, so much potential, Alessandro Ciccati, and very exciting for him. He made his Serie A debut with Parma in the most recent weekend as well. Just the 1 appearance in World Cup qualifiers in the previous round for Ciccati. Kai Rolls, I think, will be included in the squad. Again, he's a guy who provides a bit of versatility, whether you play him at centre back, can slot in at left back as well. He's played 3 out of 4 games so far for Hearts this season, 4 appearances and 1 goal in round 2 of the World Cup qualifiers. And I think for me, the final centre back has to be Cameron Burgess. I mean, again, Graham Arnold has really favoured Burgess in the past couple international windows for Australia. He was on the bench for Ipswich Town in their first Premier League game of this season. Hopefully he does get some game time. It might have to come in some of the cup competitions for Cameron Burgess. He did make 4 appearances in World Cup qualifiers in the previous round. And for another option that could be thrown in there, I don't think he'll make it, but I would love to see Gianni Stensnes, even to be in discussions. He's made 17 appearances in Norway this season. His last cap was way back in 2022. You might remember he was involved in that previous World Cup qualifying campaign leading up to the 2022 World Cup. Fantastic player who obviously spent time at Central Coast Mariners and versatile as well. He can play as a defensive midfielder, more recently playing as a centre back. A bit of a younger option as well. Just another option to provide something different there in defence if Graham Arnold chooses to go for it. But you look at, some of these players here, like Rolls, Burgess, Ciccati. I mean, all these players really, not really playing that much football of late, only just getting into competitive action. And you look at someone like Gianni Stensnes, already 17 games, competitive games this season in Norway, a potential option for Arnold. The fullback positions are an interesting one for the Socceroos at the moment because we've got quite a few injuries at the moment. The big blow for Australia heading into this window is Geordie Boss is out with injury. That is obviously a huge blow for Australia. For me, he is the first choice Socceroos left back, and I think will be for many, many years to come. So I think Aziz Beich is probably a lock for the left back position for this upcoming window. Made 4 appearances for Australia in the most recent round of World Cup qualifiers. Joel King is someone someone who's been included in windows recently. I'm going to give a shout out though to Brad Smith. I reckon he could potentially get a run. Again, the MLS season has been going for the last few months. He has played 16 games for Houston Dynamo, scoring 2 goals, grabbing 2 assists as well. His last cap for Australia was 2021. But, in terms of players thinking outside the box, he's certainly an option to come in. He is 30 years of age, but he brings that experience as well. You might just look at Kai Rolls as another option to fill in at left back if we need that, if Aziz Bayic is injured for whatever reason. Brad Smith, though, provides something different, and I reckon he could potentially get a call up for this window. And there's some headaches at right back for Graham Arnold as well, because we've got the likes of Ryan Strain, Gethin Jones, who are currently injured. Nathaniel Atkinson is currently looking for a new club. There's been rumours online that he's been linked with a return to the A-League. For me, I think Lewis Miller is probably the starting right back heading into this upcoming window. Already 7 competitive games so far for Hibernian in Scotland. He made 2 appearances in World Cup qualifiers in the last couple of years. He's a player that I obviously love, being a Central Coast Mariners fan. Just his physicality. He's so dangerous going forward. He provides such a threat going forward for Australia, and really solid in defence as well. And with those injuries there, we really have to sort of look outside the box once again in terms of who could come in and maybe contest in that right back position. Yes, maybe we could play Thomas Deng in that role, but for me, I think we could look for someone like Giuseppe Bovalina, the former Adelaide youngster. He made his move to Vancouver Whitecaps earlier this year. He's already played 9 games for Vancouver. He is, of course, uncapped for Australia, has made a couple appearances for the under-23 side. I think he's worth looking at. He's sort of similar to Lewis Miller, very physical player. We saw that for Adelaide United. He loves getting forward and contributing in attack, and again, could provide a good option there in defence on that right-hand side for Australia. Giuseppe Bovalina, a chance for him maybe to get a look in for this upcoming squad. I'd love to see him included. Next up is centre midfield, and for me, the squad, we're basing it off a 4-4-2 formation, which is roughly sort of what we played most recently here, the Socceroos. Aidan O'Neill, I think, should be included in the upcoming squad. He's currently the captain of his side in the Belgian Pro League. He's already played 4 games so far this season, 2 appearances in the World Cup qualifiers in round 2. Jackson Irvine, I think, is another lock in midfield. Obviously, he's become a crucial cog in the Socceroos side for the last few years now. Has made 1 appearance so far for St. Pauli as they're just getting their season started. Their Bundesliga season gets underway this coming weekend. Of course, played every game in the most recent round of World Cup qualifiers, as did his teammate at St. Pauli, Connor Metcalfe, who I think is, again, a lock for this Australia squad. Good versatility as well, Connor Metcalfe, whether he does play in the centre of the park or even out wide, as he does sometimes play for St. Pauli. For the final midfield position, I was tossing up between Keanu Bacchus and Cammy Devlin. 2 similar players, but I think I'm going to go for Keanu Bacchus. I love his work on the ball, fantastic passing range, already 3 competitive games for his new side, Mansfield Town, in League 1, 4 appearances and 1 goal in the previous round of World Cup qualifiers for Keanu Bacchus. Cammy Devlin already played 4 competitive games so far for his side, Hearts in Scotland. Another good option there, but I think I'm going to give the nod to Keanu Bacchus there in midfield. For the left wing, I've picked out 3 exciting players. I think it's going to be a return to the Socceroos squad for Craig Goodwin, who in his first game back in the league in Saudi Arabia scored 2 goals and grabbed 1 assist as well. Great start to the season there for Craig Goodwin. Made 3 appearances and of course 2 goals in the World Cup qualifiers most recently for Australia. When he is fit, when he is firing, he is simply Australia's best player. He needs to be in the squad if he is fit. So that's an obvious choice there. Another one that I'd love to see get included in this squad is Awa Mobile. He's a player who's been playing most recently in Switzerland. 4 appearances so far in the Swiss Super League. Most recently in a cup game as well, where they won 9-0 his side. 3 goals, 5 assists for Awa Mobile. 8 goal contributions in 1 game is just incredible. And, based off that recent form, why not throw him back in the squad, give him the chance to get himself back involved. His last cap was back in 2022. Awa Mobile, again, another one of these players who, when he's in form, he's a really, really dangerous player. And I think as well, Sammy Silvera is probably worth throwing in there as well. He's played 3 competitive games so far for Portsmouth as they have recently started their season. Made just the 1 appearance for the Socceroos in the most recent round of World Cup qualifiers. Fantastic option. And again, Silvera, another one of these players who can play on either side of the pitch. Let's talk about the right wing position. And of course, we have to include Nestori Irankunda, who looks set to be involved in Bayern Munich's first team this season. It is so exciting seeing Nestori Irakunda's progression over the last few years, but most recently, just in the last couple of months, involved in sort of the B team over there at Bayern Munich. But most recently, looking at the friendlies and stuff, he's been involved with the first team. He came off the bench for teammate Harry Kane. I mean, this is a guy who's playing with some of the best players on the planet. Nesri Irankunda, I think from here on out, is going to be a starting player for Australia going forward. You know, scored his first goal for Australia in that game in Perth a couple months ago. 2 appearances at the end of the last round of World Cup qualifiers. He's an absolute lock for the Socceroos squad. And I think Martin Boyle will probably get included once again as well. Again, an experienced option when it comes to the wide areas. Already 7 competitive games for Hibernian. And as well, worth pointing out, you know, it's good to include Martin Boyle, I think, as well, because you've got that right side chemistry with his Hibernian teammate in Lewis Miller. So Martin Boyle there, again, 2 appearances, 1 goal in World Cup qualifiers last round for him. I've selected 4 strikers for this Socceroos squad, and some more headaches for Graham Arnold, because we've got the likes of Cassini Yengi and Apostolos Stamatolopoulos, who are currently injured. For me, if Yengi, if he was fit, I think he'd be the first name on the sheet in terms of forwards. We've also got someone like Nick D'Agostino, who's maybe a fringe Socceroo looking to make his way into the Australia squad, but he hasn't been involved for his club side for the last few weeks now. So first of all, for me, it's Mitch Duke. It provides so much experience, you know, leading the line for Australia. 22 games so far this season in the J1 League, 4 goals for him. So he's been playing football regularly in the last few months. In the most recent round of World Cup qualifiers, 5 appearances and 2 goals. I think as well, we also have to include Adam Taggart. Yes, Perth Glory, you know, still in pre-season as they head closer towards the kickoff in the A-League season. He did come off of the bench in the Australia Cup round of 32, scoring in a matter of minutes. 3 appearances and 1 goal in the World Cup qualifiers for round 2 for Australia. But again, another good experience option up front for the Aussies. And then for me, I've gone for 2 younger strikers. John Iredale, he got included in a Socceroos squad a few months back. I believe it was the March squad. He's already made 5 appearances for his club in Denmark. He grabbed 2 appearances in the most recent round of World Cup qualifiers and grabbed that 1 goal that he scored in Canberra. And another player I'd love to see integrated into the squad for the upcoming qualifiers is Mohamed Toure. He's recently joined Randers FC, the club of goalkeeper Paul Izzo. He's already played 3 games for the side, grabbed 1 goal, grabbed 1 assist, all those coming in just 88 minutes of football. But a striker who, you know, we remember from his time at Adelaide United, fantastic there, you know, made his debut as one of the youngest players in the A-League. He's a player with a lot of potential still at just 20 years of age. I'd love to see him get some minutes in these upcoming games. Some other options that are worth mentioning, you know, we've got someone like Bruno Fornaroli, who is obviously a very experienced striker. Brandon Borrello as well, you know, he's fit at the moment at Western Sydney Wanderers, but again, you know, they're in pre-season at the moment as well. But I'd love to see Graham Arnold go for those 2 strikers, the 2 experienced players in Duke and Taggart, and the 2 younger options in Iredale and Toure. So let's have a full recap of the squad and how it looks. So we've got Ryan, Gauchi, and Izzo in goals. Some good options there for goalkeepers. 5 centre-backs for me: Sutar, Deng, Chikati, Rolls, and Burgess. Again, some of those players can play in those fullback positions. I am going for 2 left-backs and 2 right-backs, Bajic and Smith at left-back. So a potential return for Brad Smith for me for this upcoming window. Right-back, Lewis Miller and Giuseppe Bovalina. Again, another one of these exciting young players with a chance here to make his Socceroos debut, Giuseppe Bovalina. Centre midfield, 4 options: Aidan O'Neill, Jackson Irvine, Connor Metcalf, and Keanu Bacchus. Maybe one of the easiest positions to select players for in the centre of the park. For the left-hand side, 3 options in Craig Goodwin, Awa Mobile, Sammy Silvera. Right-hand side, Iran Kunda and Martin Boyle. And up front, those 4 options in Duke, Taggart, Iredale, and Toure. What do you guys make of the squad? Feel free to throw your squad in the comments section, or a player you'd love to see included for this upcoming round of qualifiers. It gets underway in just under a couple of weeks. Australia taking on Bahrain and Indonesia. Hopefully we can grab 6 points to kick off the World Cup qualifiers for this round. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. My name's Lockie. This is Coast Watch Football, and I'll see you in the next one.